Stanley Tucci brings audiences so much joy on the big screen. It's easy to forget that, in his real life, he experienced a heartbreaking personal tragedy. Here's the story of how Stanley loved and lost his beloved wife, Kate. Stanley Tucci married social worker Kate Spath in 1995. The couple had 3 children, daughter Camilla and twins Niccolo and Isabel. Stanley also helped his wife raise 2 children from her previous marriage. In 2006, Kate was diagnosed with breast cancer. Unfortunately, 3 years later, Kate succumbed to her illness. She was only 49 when she passed away. Stanley has described the loss as turning his life completely upside down. And in a 2021 interview, Stanley shared that more than a decade later, he still misses his wife.
Never stop grieving. And it's still hard.
Stanley added that his wife would never want any of us to wallow in that grief and let it take over our lives. She would never want that. She wasn't like that. The year after her passing, Stanley admitted that he went through the emotions of blaming himself, but mostly he was sad. He said, "I'm sad for Kate that she can't be here, and I'm sad for my children that they didn't have the opportunity to spend more time with her because she was an extraordinary person." During his appearance on Justin Long's podcast, Stanley discussed the tough decision to leave the home he'd shared with his wife. In 2005, the year before Kate was diagnosed with cancer, the family bought a 6-acre farmhouse in South Salem, New York. In 2014, he finally decided to sell the property. He told Justin that Kate actually passed away in that house, and it was sad to say goodbye. She was a very outdoorsy person. I'm an outdoorsy person, but she was even much more. She loved all that, so it was very difficult to leave that. Stanley admits that he dealt with complicated emotions over his decision to not be in the room for Kate's final moments of life. He says he was worried being present for his wife's passing would be so devastating that he wouldn't be able to take care of his kids after. In an interview with The Guardian, Stanley says he wishes he could say sorry to his late wife. He says, "We tried everything we could do to save her. I wish that I would have done more and that I could have been there with her at the moment she passed away." But Stanley says other people were present during her passing, including his stepdaughter and Kate's friends. Right after Katie's cancer diagnosis, Stanley filmed the movie The Devil Wears Prada. During the movie, he became friends with co-star Emily Blunt, and at the 2006 premiere, he briefly met her older sister, Felicity. Later, Stanley noted that Kate spent a lot of time talking to Felicity. A year after Kate's passing, Stanley attended Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's wedding. It was there he reconnected with Felicity. Sparks flew, and Stanley and Felicity got married 2 years later. Tucci and Blunt were wed in 2012 at a private ceremony attended by family and friends, including best man Steve Buscemi, groomsmen Oliver Platt, and Hollywood icons like Colin Firth, Meryl Streep, and Julianne Moore. But the road to Stanley's second marriage wasn't that easy. Stanley admits that he felt guilty when he proposed to Felicity. Even going out in public as a widower was a struggle. He said it was very hard to go on vacations at first, really hard to go with Felicity someplace. But Stanley makes it clear that his second wife had been so incredible taking on a widower and 3 children whose mother died. He adds, "That's a huge thing at a very young age, too. If anybody made things better for all of us, it's her. She's the one." There was also the age gap. Stanley is 21 years older than Felicity, and he was worried about getting into a relationship with someone so much younger. But when he realized Felicity was an incredibly special person, he fully committed to her. After Stanley sold his New York farmhouse in 2014, he and Felicity moved to London, England, where she works as a literary agent. In 2015, the couple welcomed son Matteo Oliver. 3 years later, Felicity gave birth to a little girl, Amelia Giovanna. Losing a loved one is never easy. We're happy to hear that Stanley has found happiness with his family, but we all know he'll never forget Kate.